Hey, it's Chris. Today I'm going to show you how to adjust the brake pedal on this 2020 Husky 701 Enduro LR. So it probably goes without saying that most of us will want to adjust our bike to suit our size and riding style. And the brake pedal is one of those aspects that you're going to probably want to adjust at some point. In this case, I've got aftermarket foot pegs, which are 15 millimeters lower, so I'll definitely want to lower that brake pedal. But in KTM's infinite wisdom, they've decided that adjusting the brake pedal on this particular bike is going to be a little more complicated than on all their off-road race bikes. In this case, we're going to have to remove the foot peg mount, get in behind there, and make the necessary adjustments. In my case, because I've got the luggage rack in the way, I'm going to remove the fasteners here, and hopefully I can just work around the actual rack and not have to remove that. Nevertheless, let's give you a look at what tools you're going to need, and then let's get started. If you've got full racks like I do, you're going to need to remove this top bolt, take it all the way out. We're going to need 10 millimeter sockets. Okay, this is loose enough now to where I should be able to take the foot peg mount off. So a couple things are gonna happen right here. I've loosened off the luggage rack, and I'm gonna need to loosen off the 19 millimeter bolt right here and two 10 millimeter bolts across the bottom. Before I go ahead and do that, I'm gonna decide exactly what height do I want to have the brake lever at. And then the little trick about this is we're gonna adjust the free play screw to the height that I want the brake lever at. That'll give us a frame of reference, because if you take this off and you don't adjust that free play screw, you're not really gonna know how far to spin in the pin that activates the rear brake. Let's get this to where we want it. And in order to do that, I'm gonna use a bit of aluminum angle. So if we take the metal bar and we use the foot peg that's in place right here, if I push down on it, this is even with the foot peg. But for my riding style, I like it to be a little further down than that. So I'm gonna wanna adjust the free play adjuster screw to achieve this level, so slightly below the foot peg. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a couple of 8 millimeter open end wedges, or what you might refer to as spanners, to adjust that free play screw. So first up, we loosen the lock nut. We can actually, once we break it loose, twist it with our fingers to get it back down somewhere in the neighborhood of where I want to be when I'm all said and done. Right now, I'm below level by about 4 or 5 millimeters maybe. I think that's gonna work. So I'm gonna now lock the free play screw into place, and that's gonna tell me how far I need to go with the adjustment in the back once I get all of this off. Okay, so that's gonna work out great if I end up right there. Okay, before we can take the foot peg mount all the way off, we're gonna need to remove the skid plate, which is two 8 millimeter bolts. So there's the push pin that activates the rear brake right there. We've got a locking nut, and so we're going to back off the locking nut, and then we're going to spin the push pin, come in a little bit in order to let the brake lever drop. Now it looks like about a 10 millimeter open end wrench. So what I want to do is grab that, what is a smooth pin back here that activates the brake. That pin needs to spin. We need it to spin clockwise into the housing here. It might be easier to do if I release the master cylinder off of the foot peg mount. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Underneath there is a 10mm nut. There's the piece that we need to rotate, and that just spins freely. I'll spin it a few times. That's actually turns a lot easier than I thought. And you have to be careful because there's quite a bit of movement or adjustment for the master cylinder. So you could easily end up with that being moved out of the way and end up not achieving the same result that you want. So it was pretty dead center when I loosened it off. So I'm gonna try and get it dead center. Should be a little bit of a gap showing on both sides of this screw. That looks about right to where it used to be. All right, so what I'm doing right now is just spinning the plunger back out again so that I can feel it make contact with the plunger that's inside there. Just testing that. Okay, before I go ahead and put everything back together again, and before I tighten the lock nut on that plunger, gonna put it back here and just check this out and see how I'm looking. So if this is level, the foot peg is now below. Quite a difference to where it was. And in fact, I think what I'm gonna do is level it up, make it perfectly level, bring it up a little bit more. So I'm feeling like that's too far down. So I'm gonna back off the plunger a little bit more so that I don't have to go quite this far down in order to get the brake to fully engage. So first thing is I'm gonna back this out a little bit, like 3/4 of a turn, spin the lock nut, now give it a try. That feels better. So I'm gonna lock that in place there. And then I'm gonna back off the free play screw to where it's perfectly even. This feels right. A bit of gut feel, but to the best of your ability, you don't wanna have to go through this whole process in order to adjust it. So we try our best guess. Master cylinder's tight. The lock nut is tight. The last piece of the adjustment is to use the free play screw to bring it up to just level with the foot peg. And right now it's a little bit below. Just tweak it slightly, but this is an easy adjustment that I can change my mind on at any time. It's just probably 1 or 2 millimeters below even with that, but that should work out perfectly. So as a precaution, the last quick check I'm gonna do is to get the bike up on the stand, spin the rear tire, and make sure there's absolutely no drag with the rear brake. All right, no drag on the rear brake. So I'm comfortable that this works just fine. So that's it for the brake pedal height adjustment on this 701. Hopefully it was helpful for you. If it was, smash the like. And if you'd like to follow along with everything else that I'm doing on the bike, certainly subscribe. Delighted to get your comments, questions, and feedback. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.